Now, it seems like it's been a while since I've taken a look at an all-in-one cooler from NZXT, and that's probably because it has been a while since they've really refreshed the series. However, thankfully, they have done just that. And today, I'm taking a look at the Kraken X62 all-in-one. Hello everybody and welcome to Tech Uploaded. I am Chris as always, and yeah, the X62, the X series is refreshed from NZXT. And anybody who's been following the channel for a while may recall that I didn't have the greatest luck with the X61. So the X62 kind of arrived at my doorstep with a little bit of skepticism on my side. Which is interesting because the X31 and 41 that I tried, I had no problem with those, but I actually went through a few X61 coolers and all of them had bad pumps, so I never actually got a chance to use the X61 in one of my builds. But I'm thankful to say that boy have things changed with the X62. Now, overall, I just have to say, NZXT has really been impressing me a lot lately with their product releases that have been coming out. They've been focusing heavily on kind of getting into the game of showcasing your hardware and being a little bit flashy. So if that's your thing, they've got you covered. RGB is the name of the game, and clear panels apparently is the way they're going, at least if the S340 Elite is any indication. And it almost feels like the Kraken X62 was designed with the S340 Elite in mind. So first things first, let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging for this bad boy. Now the box itself is simple and understated. It just has right up front what it is. It's a 280mm liquid cooler, and it shows you what it's going to look like when you take it out of the box. Can't really ask for much more than that. And when you turn the box around and you look at the back side, you kind of get an idea of what this thing is going to look like when it's installed inside of your case. And of course, you can see by that little bar on the back graphic that it does look like it is in an S340. And then it also shows off the cam software and all the other goodies. So, of course, the next logical step is to go ahead and pop open the packaging and see how everything is presented inside this nice looking package. So while I'm going through the unboxing process here on camera, I figured I would take this opportunity to read off some of the features of the new Kraken series as presented to me directly from NZXT, of course. And of course, it's a new Kraken series, so they're going to be touting all of the fantastic features of this thing. And they are claiming that this is the most advanced controls ever to be featured in an all-in-one liquid cooler. And once I take a look at the cam software later in this video, you'll see that they may actually be kind of spot on with that claim. There is a lot you can do with this thing, but the real story here is actually the pump itself, which has been re-engineered from the ground up. It is a substantial pump. It feels good when you actually take it out of the box, hold it in the hand, and really it has been designed to basically displace fluid faster than previous generations, allowing it to cool things down at a faster rate while being able to actually keep the pump at a lower speed. And you can actually control all of that in the cam software. And I found that even running this thing at high speeds, which again you'll see when I go through the cam controls, it's still very quiet. And of course it is using their new AER or Air P series fans. It's all about RGB right now with NZXT, and of course that is the name of the game with the actual aesthetic of this all-in-one. So they have that set up on the actual pump itself, and you get some nice reinforced tubing, which is always a good thing. There is some nylon sleeves on here, which is handy when you're actually doing the installation so you don't nick up those tubes or possibly damage something. So as I said at the beginning of the video, I feel like the X62 really was designed specifically for like the H440 and the S340 cases from NZXT. It fits in so well. So with that being said, let's take a look at how this thing actually looks installed in the case. And as you can see, it fits in like a glove. It looks fantastic. I've got it mounted across the front. and you can see all of the RGB goodness happening right here, as well as the RGB fans, which I'll be covering in the not too distant future. And the entire thing really ties together just super, super well in the S340 Elite case. So again, this I think really is designed to kind of all work together well, but obviously I think this thing would look pretty darn nice in pretty much any case in which you can actually fit this thing. So all eye candy aside, it may look good, it may be easy to install, and it just may have all kinds of marketing about it, but does it actually perform? And in order to know that, it's time to dive into the CAM software. All right, so there is a lot to see here in the CAM software. It can actually really be overwhelming, and just to give you an idea of what I mean, if you go full screen on this, you're kind of in mission control. You see everything from your CPU and load to the GPU information to RAM load, all the way up to your network information. Like this was me downloading an update to a piece of software. You can see your drive usage. I mean, the core temperatures, everything is in here. And yeah, if you have a second screen and you really want to look like you're just totally geeking out, you could just keep this up on here if you wanted. This is the mode you're probably going to use it in the most, to be honest. So as you can see, it gives you a nice, very quick overview of everything going on. So you have your CPU temperature with the load, your GPU temperature with the load. You got your fan speeds, the GPU fan speed, which being a 9 series GTX 970, it's sitting at 0 as they do. And then again, your hard drive information's on here as well. You can go over to advanced. This brings you a little bit more of that information that you saw when it was in the full screen mode. Gives you liquid temperature information, fan speed, pump speed, all that good stuff. And then you can expand and you can kind of see this. So basically this is just a long way of kind of going about how you would get to the information that you see when you're in full screen. But basic is probably going to be where you spend most of your time if you're just kind of keeping an eye on how things are going, how much RAM you're using, all that good stuff. But you can go to build, and it does give you a nice detailed overview of pretty much everything going on in your computer. It tells me a lot about not only my processor, but the video card, motherboard information, memory, and then the 3 hard drives that I actually have installed in here. So this is, you know, it's pretty handy. It gives you a lot. You have a game section in here. I really haven't bothered to go into any of that. Didn't really feel the need. And then tuning. So you can get to tuning a couple of different ways. You can go down here to Kraken. And if you go down here to change mode, you can do fixed mode, silent mode, performance mode. But if you click on this little gear, it's going to jump you over to tuning. I will say I like keeping the Kraken in fixed mode. I find that for whatever reason, it keeps the pump just more tolerable. It's not loud, but when it's shifting around to different pump speeds and things, it is kind of noticeable. And actually kind of putting it in more of the performance mode is better than silent mode, I have found for whatever reason, at least on mine. But let's go over here. You can kind of see the fan speed and then the pump speed. So you'll notice I did put it in performance mode. For whatever reason, when the pump speed drops down, the pump, at least with mine, seems more audible. It's actually almost silent when it's running at a faster speed. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way I've set it up, and it works fine. The fans, they're running at an incredibly low RPM. They're almost silent. You can barely hear them, but here's where the fun comes in, the lighting. So you can turn the logo on and off. You can turn the ring on and off. So if you just don't want to see any of that, you can turn them both off. If you want it just kind of the old school, the NZXT logo, you can do that. But the ring LED is really, that's what makes this thing kind of cool. Ignore the Hue Plus stuff down here. This is for the lights I actually have on the fans installed in the system. I will cover those in a separate video, but it does tie everything in together into this software, so the Hue Plus information is in here as well. But right now, since we're talking about the X62, this is pretty much what we're looking at up here. You can go to Edit Settings, and now, oh my goodness, do you have a lot of options. So you've got the presets here. You can just do your usual thing. So you can go to Fixed, and it's just going to be one fixed color. You can go to breathing, so it's going to look like it's breathing. Fading, kind of the same thing. I like covering marquee. That's the one I've been keeping it on for a while. Pulse and spectrum wave, so many different options. You can tweak this thing for days. You can have the cycle color set on this thing depending on which mode you're in. You'll see like on fading, I can tell it which one I want to do. I can add another color. I can add another color to the marquee. I can do all kinds of different things. I can set custom profiles. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So here's another kind of cool thing. You can do smart settings. So we actually have it change colors based on the temperature settings inside of the computer. So you can do it for GPU temp, you can do it for CPU temp, frame per second mode. So, you know, you see how many FPS you're getting. And if you start getting down here, it's like, oh, I need to get a new graphics card. But in all seriousness, this is kind of helpful. If I was going to use this, I'd probably put it on the CPU temp mode just to kind of keep an eye on things, since I do a lot of rendering and things like that on this system. That would be good to know. And then you can also go into audio as well. I'm not really going to worry about that too much. You're going to be playing around here. This is, I guarantee, where you're going to be playing around with this thing, because there is so much that you can do and there's just so much flexibility. So yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of stuff that you can do within this software. However, there is a downside to this. When the software is open, for some reason, my mechanical drive clicks quite a bit, and I don't know why. Every few seconds, the mechanical drive will just click. As soon as I close the monitoring software, it stops. So that's one annoyance I have with this software, is I actually do just I close it when I'm done using it and kind of monitoring things, because it's annoying. And when you close the software, all of your settings stay, so you don't really have to have it running. You just open it up to monitor things. But for example, I'm going to go ahead and open up a few different things here. I'm going to open CPUZ and let that get rolling. Let me drag that over here. So you can see it's 6850K, and then this thing should boost to 4 gigahertz. Oh, the other thing in here, tuning, you can actually go over, I forgot to show this on overclocking. There is some GPU overclocking that can be done in here as well if you wanted to attempt to do that. I have not tried this out, and I found with my 970, it gets a little bit upset if you really push it too hard, and I haven't really had the need to really overclock it all that much, so I just kind of leave that alone. But we'll go back to the dashboard here. We're talking about the Kraken, so let's put the Kraken to the test. The next thing I need to do is do a synthetic stress test, so we will get that loaded up. Go ahead and pull that over here, try to fit everything on this little screen. And let's go and do a stability test on the system. I'm going to stress the GPU. I'm not going to do local disk. The reason for that is I'm actually backing everything on this disk up because I feel like it's kind of on its last legs. So I don't want to stress out that drive too much until I have absolutely everything off of it. So let's go ahead and just start this test here and blast the CPU load up to full load and see what we get. Now, the screen capturing software may be struggling at this point because, well, there's a lot going on. But as you can see, the load on the CPU is punching up to 100%. Temperatures are still looking really good. And memory should be slowly climbing. And the processor itself is actually pegged right at that 4 gigahertz mark. So I really haven't done any extreme overclocking by any means on this system. I'm just kind of letting it turbo clock where it likes to go. Installed in this ASUS board, it has no problem going to 4 gigahertz. It does the same thing when I do renders. As you can see, the temperatures are looking really, really good on the CPU. And the CPU fan speed and GPU fan speed are still very, very low. Everything is so quiet right now with this system. It's amazing to me. All right, I've had this going for a little while. It's not the most exciting thing in the world to sit and watch this, but as you can see, without really putting a whole lot of an overclock on this particular CPU, the core voltage is at 1.3 volts, and we are pegged at 4 gigahertz, and no problems whatsoever here as far as temperatures are concerned. RAM load is at maximum. Temps on the CPU, I mean, I don't think they've even hit 60 yet, so that's really, really good. The GPU temps are doing pretty good as well, considering that the GPU fan is really not very loud at all. Like, again, the system really doesn't sound any different right now than it sounds when it's sitting idle. It's just like ever so slightly louder than it normally would be. So I have to say, I'm really impressed with the performance that I'm getting off of this X62. The last thing I want to do is actually put this under a real world test and I'm going to try to export a video from Premiere. So I'm going to stop this test. I'm going to open up a Premiere project, and it's going to be in the other window momentarily. While it loads up, I'm actually just going to queue up whatever the last video I did. I've been using Final Cut Pro 10.3 lately, so the last thing I did here was Ting Wireless and MVNOs. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and hit export, and we'll see what is going to happen while we're exporting the file. So you can see there it is on the screen there. Okay, so now as you can see, the encode is actually happening, and the CPU is starting to hit a higher load. This is more of a realistic test of how things would actually be used with this computer, not the synthetic test that was running, so we can get a better idea of temperatures and loads and things like that. So keeping in mind, Adobe isn't the most optimized software on earth. This is the most recent version that just came out. I believe this is now the 2017 release of Creative Cloud, so I have updated all the software. This is actually my first encode using this. And with a 70% load, we're hovering right around 50 degrees. I mean, we're not even getting close to the TJ Maxx on this processor whatsoever with it running at 4 gigahertz. So, everything in the system right now is just silent. That's the thing that impresses me the most. Having looked at the Corsair H110i and how incredibly loud that was with the stock fans, and even honestly with when I changed it out to Noctua fans, it still ramped up pretty hard in order to keep things cool. And this is with me just using the thermal pad that came pre-installed on the Kraken. I didn't put any kind of special thermal paste or anything like that down when I installed this. I just did the install as most people would do it, just straight up install the darn thing, and that was it. And this is what I'm getting. So I'm really happy with this. Considering the issues I had with the X61, I feel like the X62 has completely redeemed itself, and it really is so far my favorite all-in-one. And that's saying quite a bit because I've been through quite a few of these. And this one it feels pretty well built. It's not the most solid, but considering the performance I'm getting from it, I think they made some major adjustments in the actual technology behind this thing, because it's just doing a really great job of keeping everything not only cool, but quiet. So I think that's a pretty good overview of everything. And we can, of course, go to the full mission control view if we want to see how the temperatures are doing per core. And you can kind of see, what's going on here with Adobe and its usage. And you can also see the different cores and how they're kind of getting spread out. It does look like it's doing a better job kind of spreading out the load than it used to. But yeah, all in all, I'm impressed. Software's good. I just wish they could do something about the hard drive clicking when the software's running, because boy, that is annoying. So that's it. That is a brief overview. Well, that wasn't really brief, but that's an overview of the latest CAM software that you will use with your Kraken X62. So as you can see, that software is really, really kind of intense. There's a lot you can do. You can go into that really simple interface, or you can dive down deep into pretty much every little nuance you would possibly want to know about what's going on with your system. And some people may love that. It may be overwhelming for others. But the options for lighting with this new RGB trend that NZXT is really targeting is pretty darn impressive. You can really set this pump to kind of have whatever look you want, and if you want to go stealth with it, you can do that as well. Now, again, my experience with the X61 was just not good, and then to have this come along and impress me as much as it did and continues to do is really a breath of fresh air. I've never seen a product that I've had come in for review have a generation follow it that did such a complete 180 for me. Installation was easy. The fans feel solid and look good. They are quiet. The pump, in my opinion, it's very subjective, looks fantastic. I think it fits really well with the look of the build. And most importantly, this thing is able to keep my system nice and cool, whether I'm running synthetic benchmarks or doing rendering or gaming, which I even tried out, but the gaming really wasn't taxing the CPU all that much, so that one really wasn't a great test for how well this was going to work anyway. But no matter what I threw at it, my temperatures always stayed low, the system stayed incredibly quiet, and the pump itself, even in performance mode, is very quiet as well. And when you factor all those things together, that's what really, really impressed me about this particular product. Now, it seems like it's been nothing but positives from me for this review, and for the most part, yes, that is true, but there are some negatives. My number one concern is, given the quality control issues I had with the X61, that does still linger with me a little bit as a slight concern in the back of my mind, but I'm not going to judge it based on that because the particular version that I have works just fine. The CAM software, though, could definitely use some tweaking. It's a little bit annoying that it starts up with the computer. The way that it does, it's a little delayed. It kind of comes up after everything else. That may just be my system. And then it comes up and fills the whole screen. I actually had to go into the settings, tweak things a little bit, but that's not a huge deal. My issue is, even when it's running in the background, for whatever reason, it keeps pinging my mechanical drive every few seconds and causing it to kind of tick. And as soon as I exit out of the CAM software, then magically that stops happening. Now, there is a certain amount of irony to the fact that I can actually hear that very soft tick of the hard drive, and that is because all of the fans in my system now are these Air Series fans from NZXT, and they're so darn quiet that it allows me to hear every single little noise that's happening in my system. So the CAM software is actually working to the detriment of the silence that all of this stuff working together actually gives you with your build. So it's kind of unfortunate that, I open the software, kind of, see how everything's looking, use it to monitor temps, and then I pretty much have to exit out. Now, all of your settings go along when you close it, but still, I hope that NZXT tweaks that software a little bit more to make it a little bit less aggressive on maybe what it's doing in the back end with things to be causing my hard drive to keep accessing like it is. Now, of course, if you're using just solid-state drives, then that won't be an issue for you at all. But with my Western Digital Black, it is. But other than that, that is really about the only thing that I could find that was an issue with this. The only other small detail was the fact that the pump was actually a little bit louder in silent mode than it was when I put it in performance mode. When I put the pump in performance mode, it kind of locked it in at a higher speed, and at that higher speed, it actually seemed to operate quieter. And I think the reason for that is it was consistent. When it was kind of changing and fluctuating, you could hear those fluctuations. But when it locked itself in at a steady speed, then it was just kind of like silent white noise that you really didn't pick up on. So I would recommend setting the pump into performance mode and just kind of leaving it at that. For me, that seemed to work the best. And then I just kept the fans and their stock profiles and everything was fine. So all in all, I have to say, of all the all-in-ones I've used, and that's saying something because I've used quite a few, and with the Enermax being the top dog for a long time, and it still does hold the crown for the best build quality, by the way. But I would say that the X62 definitely comes in second place as far as build quality, and as far as performance, it takes number one for me and all of the all-in-ones that I have used, and therefore, I give it 2 thumbs up. I do highly recommend this. So if you enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, please click on that subscribe button, give it a like, do your thing, check out some of my other videos. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Tech Uploaded, so please check me out over there. And if you have a long-winded question or something that you feel requires email, you can shoot me an email at techuploaded@gmail.com. And if you've been following this channel at all, you know the drill. Don't be a stranger. Check back soon.